morbid. Like, that's where the whole, like, what is this called? The Nito, like,
Yeah.
fidget toy came from. Because I was hearing Elena talk about it. And this was, like, a good 2 months ago, maybe 3. And she's like, oh, yeah, I steal the kids, like, Nito toys all the time because they don't make noise and I can just fidget with them while we're talking. I'm like, that is a brilliant idea, because the only other thing that I'm like, I think I have that wouldn't make noise, that would be really fun to, like, keep my hands busy while I'm talking, is kinetic sand, but I also am not talented enough not to make a mess with that.
I mean, that could be fun. You're just like mush,
Mush. Let me
petting the
just tell
sand,
you the story.
making the castle.
Sarah's
You're
watching
like,
me
oh
like,
no, it's in the keyboard.
ah, fuck. Ugh. The way I clean out my keyboards, like, meticulously, though, like, once a month. There's things in there that I'm like, how are you in here? There are no cat. Well, I guess Thak's in the garage. But, like, Salem and Brina, like, where I would expect the majority of this fur to be coming from, being those two, I'm like, how is this getting in here? Because y'all aren't out here, and Thak does not produce this much fur, and he's not on top of my desk. How is this getting in my keyboard? And it's just like hairball after hairball.
That's not fun.
No. I mean, it's entertaining once you get, like, used to it and everything. Like, it's a good time, because I get, maybe that's an OCD thing. Maybe that's OCD talking, because I'm like, I have a good time ripping apart all the keys off my keyboard and then, like, bleaching it and cleaning it.
Making it look beautiful.
Making it look brand new and run like it's brand new and saving it another 3 to 4 years of life. Maybe. Who knows? Not me. Oh my goodness. Well, Sarah, how are you doing?
So, I broke 2 of my toes.
How? How?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know
And
that
I've been
pain. That's
working,
why
and
I'm
it's
like
been
over
back to
here like,
school. So
ugh.
yeah, yeah, it was not great. Um, I took my towel off a towel rack, and the whole thing just came down on my toes.
Oh my God. Are you all
Yeah,
right?
and so I've been better. I've been working this whole week. It happened on
Jesus
Sunday.
Christ.
Yeah, I've just been hobbling around, cutting hair, taking pain pills. So I am cooked.
Oh my God. I don't know if you knew me back then. I don't know. Because if you went and saw Anything Goes, like, at Loveland High School when they did it, I think it was like 2010, 2011. May have been earlier than that. Excuse me while I rack my brain for time frames. We had those, like, riser, like, makeshift build stairs that went up to the top platform of the ship.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you told me stories.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, the gal behind me pushed me to get me to go down them faster, and I already don't do really well with, like, stairs at all, and I really don't like the ones that don't have a back to them. These didn't have a back to them, so I was already kind of scared to begin with, and my foot went in and it folded under it as I fell, and completely just the ridge of my foot bent backwards, and I felt like 4 things go crunch. And of course, I get up after everybody does the ooh. I'm like, let me just deliver my line and get the fuck off of stage. Because I know something's broken. There ain't no fucking way there's not. And I just lived on pain pills for the 2 weeks performances of Anything Goes and tap danced on a broken foot. Then went to the ER and they're like, what happened? I'm like, I fell down the stairs. And they looked at my parents like, uh-huh. Did you now? Did you really fall down the stairs? I'm like, I promise you I did. I did. I did fall down the stairs. I'm not graceful.
Fell downstairs.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
my poor internet.
I was gonna say, I'm like, is she back? Did she go away?
Yeah,
Is she okay?
it's just lagging. The laptop's old. The Wi-Fi ain't that great.
I don't know, the internet all over is like just kind of been meh lately. Because even mine's been having like a shit fit.
Mm-hmm. I know they had to put in cables in my grandma's yard, like internet cables. I'm sure she was thrilled. Oh my gosh. To be a little old lady sitting at home all day, and then there's just a huge construction crew outside for hours.
Just get off my lawn, Grandma. They have to be here. I don't want them here.
Oh, I know. Her and the cats were just sitting there watching them.
That's good fun, though. That is good fun.
Yeah, oh yeah. Bonding experience for all. They're like, why is it so loud? All staring out the window at these poor guys.
They're like, are those cats watching us? And cats are like, what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they digging in the big litter box outside? Oh, my mom was on a fucking roll today at the grocery store. Like, the first 10 minutes into the store, I found like one of those little mini waffle makers. I was like, oh, gluten-free waffles. They sound so good. So I'm like, Mom, Mom. And I like held up the box like a little kid, like, look, it's waffles. I can make waffles with the waffle maker. And she dead ass looked at me and she went, no, you can't, Dory. You think you could have gluten, but you just can't.
You think you can have gluten, but you just can't.
I just kind of blinked at
You're like,
her.
they do make gluten-free flour.
Yeah, I'm like, I was gonna make gluten-free waffles. And she's like, well, we got a waffle maker at home. I'm like, okay, that's touche. All right, I get you
Mm.
on that one. So then as we're walking out of the store, like, got everything put away into the trunk, forgot completely that I had bought chocolate milk for like the ride home because I'm a little literal child sometimes. I'm like, I just want my chalky milk as I drive home. And
Mm-hmm.
I got into the car, completely forgot about it, sat down, I went, I'm really thirsty. I was gonna continue with, I wish I would have grabbed the chocolate milk out of the trunk, but she cut me off before I could say that. And she goes, we have water at home. You have water at home. I'm like,
Oh no.
what? Why would you do that to me?
Water at home.
You've got water at home. I just kind of looked at her. I'm like, that don't help me now. But yeah, she's been on a roll today. She's just been snapping off. I'm like, God damn. Mercury retrograde must have fucking let off because everything feels a little bit nicer now.
Oh, I know. The end of mine was not great. It was like we're taking two of your toes with you. But it's just one more sign of many where it's like, leave your job.
Leave your job.
Go be free.
Go be free. Are we ready? Are we ready?
Ready as
Two
I'll
toes,
ever be.
Sarah? Two toes, Sarah.
Two
Over
toes.
Here.
We're counting the ones I'm missing.
It's just two toes, Johnny
Oh.
over here, and two. What would you have? Three toes? Is it the same foot? Three toes, Sarah.
3 toes.
Oh my goodness. Did I get the little piggy that went to market?
Yeah, that and the one next to it.
Oh no. While we understand that some individuals listen for the entertainment aspect of true crime, it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who may still be suffering from their loss. These stories are not meant to open old wounds or cause further emotional damage to those involved. We remind you to please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The cases discussed on this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners, and listener discretion is advised. Okie dokie. Sarah, today I got a little bit of a short, sweet case for you. Well, I guess I wouldn't say
Yay.
it's sweet. It's pretty horrific, but I mean, at least there's no trigger warnings. That's a nice thing. Maybe like some for mentions of child abuse, but it's like we don't go in depth with it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. This is an older case. So, we'll start on the evening of June 23rd, 1965. Two Houston, Texas police officers, Captain Charles Bullock and L.M. Barta, respond to a welfare check at 1815 Driscoll Street. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. Marvin Martin, age 56, called the police after his aunt Edwina Rogers had failed to answer the phone for several days. Now, after the officers had knocked on the front door several times and they were met with silence, they decided to go around the back of the house. There, they discovered that there was a makeshift barricade of flower pots obstructing the back door, which obviously made Captain Bullock a little suspicious. So, when Bullock and Barta push inside this home, they enter the kitchen, and for some reason, that suspicion quickly shifts to adrenaline.
Mm.
Now, Bullock remembers that something didn't feel right inside that home of Fred and Edwina Rogers. Like, there's just this off feeling that something is not right. And from articles that I read, it sounded like there was still food on the table, and he was gonna grab something out of the refrigerator, like a beer or something, according to some articles. But I digress. What he recalls is that for some reason he opened that refrigerator door. He can't exactly remember why he did so, but he did. And at first, Bullock and Barta thought they were looking at processed hog meat. Then they looked down, and in the vegetable drawer were the two decapitated heads of Fred and Edwina Rogers.
Mm. That's terrifying.
So, all that
That
presumed
I think I know
hog
this
meat
one. Oh no. Yeah.
All
God.
presumed hog meat in the fridge, freezer compartments were actually dismembered body parts wrapped up, and some of the smaller pieces, like individual joints and such, had actually been washed off before being placed in the fridge. According to two different articles that I found, the legs and torsos were neatly stacked in the fridge, while the rest of the remains have never been discovered. Investigators later concluded that Edwina had been shot in the head, while Fred had been bludgeoned to death with a claw hammer, and his eyes had been gouged out.
Ew. So gross.
After this initial attack, both of the bodies were dragged to the master bedroom. They were drained of blood, chopped into pieces, and placed in the fridge. The medical examiner for this case made a statement that whoever did this apparently took their time and knew what they were doing. The dismemberment was a fairly neat job, according to them. This killer had,
See, that's wild.
yeah, I'm like, if you're
Sometimes when I
taking
hear
the
stories
time,
like this, oh yeah, I like think about my time working at the King Super's Deli,
mm-hmm,
and you'd have to like separate the chickens out. You know, it was like wings, drumsticks, yeah,
yeah,
and that was a whole fun chore. But like, I didn't like doing it to the chickens. It was very unsettling.
mm-hmm. No, I don't
My
blame you
least
on
favorite part of
that.
my job. I mean, I can do it. I can do it pretty well, but like, yeah, I like reflect upon just like, oh yeah, you just need to pop the legs off, and you just grab the joint and
Yeah, yeah, and quite frankly, when I think back on like dissections that I've done, because I've had fetal pigs that are like set in rigor, like they're that fresh, and it's like you got to break that. Least favorite part, least favorite part. And then like taking into consideration like when we did cat dissection and anatomy, and I'm so sorry, that is a reality that you go through when you're taking anatomy physiology. You'll either dissect a cat, or if you pursue it for the rest of your career, you'll likely do a human cadaver. But when we did the cat and having to like separate out muscle tissue and actually like do some dismemberment a little bit, not like in brutalized ways, but in ways to actually study it further. It is a rigorous and exhausting process to do that type of stuff to joints and muscles and tendons, and especially tendons, because they just do not ever want to cut. It's crazy.
So whoever did this, yeah,
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah. Whoever did this is
Oh,
crazy. And like,
that's it's so involved. All of that sounds so involved,
it's
like over the top involved.
it's extreme. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And their killer had also like dismembered when dismembering the couple, he specifically removed Fred's genitalia and his intestines and flushed them down the toilet.
That's so weird. That's even weirder than just, I don't know, putting them also in the fridge. Ugh.
I'm like, ugh. And according to some articles, other organs from both bodies had also been cut up and disposed of down a nearby sewer. Now, the home itself was meticulously cleaned, and there was barely any blood actually at the scene or in the home itself. But there was a spot of blood that was discovered on the keyhole of the couple's 42-year-old son's bedroom door. So, detectives also disclosed that they had discovered a keyhole saw, a knife, and scissors that may have been used to dismember the bodies. And some of those articles state that they were either out in the kitchen, or there's other ones that state that they were found in the bedroom. They also located the claw hammer, which they identified as being Fred's murder weapon. Now, this investigation, which was deemed the Icebox murders, was determined to have happened on Sunday, the 20th of June, which was Father's Day. And the investigation slowly started to narrow their focus down. Well, I shouldn't say slowly, because they came to this conclusion very quickly. They narrowed their focus down to the couple's 42-year-old son, Charles Rogers, as the single suspect.
42.
42.
He's living at home, and it's not even this economy.
I know, right? I'm like, God damn. That's
He
shit.
could work at McDonald's and afford an apartment. Like, he's not even doing that.
He's not even trying here. No,
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
I
In
mean,
this economy, I get it. In that economy, why? Why didn't you even just try?
it's gonna get weirder before it gets cleaner. And honest to God, I don't think it ever gets cleaner. So it's just gonna get fucking weirder. Because I have my
Is he, like,
head
mentally handicapped?
No.
Okay, so just a normal dude, 42.
I wouldn't put him as being normal. I wouldn't put him as being normal. But let's go ahead and talk about Charles real quick. So, Charles lived in the upstairs bedroom of his parents' home, and people described him as being a recluse to the point where a neighbor of nearly 7 years didn't even know that he was there. And that neighbor didn't even know that the Rogers actually had a son. Like, he's never been seen, he's very quiet, he stays to himself. That's not what makes him weird. Because I can understand being like, don't talk to me, don't mess with me, just leave me alone. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Charles attended Texas A&M University, but he dropped out after a month to attend the University of Houston, Texas, which you might be going, oh, okay, he's a dropout, he's switching schools, he's popping around. No. Charles studied nuclear physics at the University of Texas. He served as a pilot in the Navy during World War II. And then he spent nearly a decade working for Shell Oil as a seismologist. This guy is a fucking genius.
Okay, so not mentally impaired, but probably just too smart for his own good.
Probably. So, to put into perspective, like, this is an individual who would tell you where to dig for materials, oils, and gas on your own personal land to make money. Charles is described as being brilliantly intelligent and had the ability to speak up to 7 different languages. Now, Charles quit Shell Oil in 1957 without a reason as to why, and from there, he slips off the radar. Relatives stated that Charles would wake up before dawn, leave his parents' house. Where he was working was unknown at that time, and it wasn't really even sure if he was working. There are articles that state that he had a girlfriend at the time that he was visiting when he was basically free. Outside of that, he did all of his own cooking and cleaning of his room, and he mainly like cooked on a hot plate in his bedroom, according to his cousin. Charles,
That's weird.
yeah, like that's a little extra recluse. Like, at least I see my family. Like, I come into the kitchen and I'm like, I'm gonna make something. Y'all gonna smell it. I'm not sure if it's gonna be good or not, but we're gonna figure it out together. But Charles was actually rarely seen by anyone, and he rarely saw his parents in person, and usually just communicated with them by slipping notes underneath doors. I like that face. That was a face to fucking behold.
Okay. That
Something ain't ringing right, is
you
it?
can't even. No, no, that seems so wrong, but I can't say why because I don't know. Like, what is going on? Why is it? Why is it the way it is? What's happening here?
What's happening here? Now, authorities start piecing together this family dynamic that the Rogers family has. They're starting to see a very plausible motive for why Charles may have killed Fred and Edwina, his parents. Now, according
Is it
to
money? Okay.
my little nod,
I'll be quiet.
get out of my brain. Just listen to the story. Anyways, according to Hugh Gardenier and Martha Hughes, who actually ended up marrying Hugh through their shared work on this case, so she is actually Martha Gardenier now. So it's a little cute thing that came from this horrific situation. These two are forensic accountants who've been working this case for years. Fred Rogers was a bookie by trade and often indulged in gambling and fraud, and abused Charles as a child mentally. Then stole from him as an adult, forging his own son's signature to sell 2 lots while Charles was out of the country. Like 2 land lots where there's oil coming up and other materials, like good thriving lots that would pay a big fee to sell.
Okay.
So, in addition to this, Charles
And he's
is,
in their house.
yeah.
That seems weird still.
There's weirdness going on still. I'm just like, why not build? Why not just build your own house? You're smart. You have to have money. What are you doing? She froze, people. Cue the elevator music until Sarah gets back.
It's me. Am I here?
You're here. Welcome back.
I took it off the computer. Now it's running normally. Yay.
Yay!
Oh,
Anyways, as you were saying, he's still living in their house. Yes.
weird. This is just getting weird. So him from being someone where it's like he should work at McDonald's to like he is a genius and a nuclear
Yeah.
physicist and he works in the oil field and he has lots and why is he with mom and dad?
I don't
Is it because he's like mentally or emotionally abused? He's starting to sound less sane.
I mean, he was
He has
mentally
a
abused as a
narcissistic parent.
child. I'm just like,
Sounds like it's still going on.
yeah, it might still be going on. I'm like, why are you still at
He's
home?
been guilt tripped, most likely. Who knows?
Probably in some way or another. But yeah, no, I definitely went, why are you still at home if you're making all this moolah? What is going on here? So, in addition to this, Charles's parents had also swindled him out a mass amounts of money. Like, we're talking taking loans out in his name, robbing him of his savings, and overall making his life a living hell. Which, I mean, that could definitely, if there's financial abuse going on, like, that that keeps you from making those types of moves to get the hell away from people. So that might have been what was going on. That might be why he was at home. So Van Fossen, and I'm not sure how accurate this is, but according to like local treasure hunter communities, like he's a legend. But he made note that everyone knew that the mother and father of Charles Rogers were devious con artists. And does not further elaborate on that. So I'm like, okay. I mean, if Frank's going out gambling and he's committing fraud, I imagine he's dragging poor Edwina with him. And she might be like, all right, well, I'll help you with this. So on and so forth. And then they're like, well, we can just use Charles's funds and so on and so forth. So I'm like, okay. Things are starting to come full circle a little bit. But it's eventually determined that Charles finally snapped on what happened to be Father's Day, according to investigative reports. Now, when this made headlines in the following days, police had already put out a nationwide pickup order for Charles because they obviously have some questions for him. The newspaper described him as being around 7 foot 5 inches tall, weighing roughly 140 pounds, with dark brown hair that was balding. And from what I could see in like photos of him, like his military photo when he has his Navy cap on, it looks like he's got some severe widow's peak going on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what I was seeing. Eventually, this nationwide pickup order switches into a nationwide manhunt, which leads nowhere. They even searched airfields at the time due to Charles having his pilot's license and being able to fly.
So he could literally be anywhere.
He could be
Like he
anywhere.
could have just.
He
That's
also speaks
crazy.
7 different languages, so it wouldn't be hard for him to go somewhere out of the country and just kind of assimilate.
Okay. Well, this just got a lot weirder.
Like I said, it keeps getting weirder. I'd like to say that it cleans itself up, but it really doesn't. Like, there's a lot of questions at the end of this, and there's just no answers. In 1991, there was an article published by the Victorian Advocate. In this article, there's a couple of things that were disclosed in the that weren't disclosed in the first article that I went through, and there's a couple things that happen between these two that I couldn't really find. But first, there's reason to give of why Charles left Shell Oil Company, and that he did so to work with the CIA. Now, John Craig, which from what I can determine was an individual kind of like armchair investigating this case or personally investigating this on his free time, stated that Charles worked as a cryptographer for naval intelligence during the World War. Further noting that at the time it was common for agents to work in oil companies because it provided the perfect cover. Then Craig brings up what detectives had found in his room outside of just the tools used for dismemberment. Apparently, there were several sophisticated short-wave radios. And in the attic just above his room, there was an antenna that was overlooked by officers at that time. Now, Craig made the statement that the radio was a way to communicate with other agents. So put on your tinfoil hats a little bit here. It's also noted in this article that it's believed that Charles, who was fluent in Spanish, fled to Guatemala after the murders. Apparently, Craig also received tips and spoke with people who said they'd seen him or they had actually flown with him when he worked for American Air, which is the CIA's private airlines. Now, if this wasn't crazy enough, here's where things take an unexpected twist. Craig states that he spoke to friends and acquaintances of Charles and managed to identify him as one of the 3 men arrested in Dealey Plaza just minutes after the John F. Kennedy assassination that took place on November 22nd of 1963.
Okay.
Sarah's like, I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Oh, I have no clue. I I'm lost. I'm so lost now. So he
So,
could have also killed JFK and his own father
and his mom.
and his mother. Yeah.
And there's some articles that even like put him as being like the handler of Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassin. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot going on here. But we'll focus on the JFK assassination. So the infamous tramp photograph, which shows 3 men being led off by Dallas police officers, reportedly one of these 3 men is Charles Rogers. Now, according to Craig, there was no arrest records for these men, as well as no documentation that they'd ever been questioned by authorities. Craig is convinced at this point that Charles played some role in the death of John F. Kennedy. He also noted that after the assassinations, Charles disappeared for 5 months. When he did resurface, apparently Edwina had kind of grown suspicious of him. She had apparently confided in several people that she was worried about Charles and that he was getting regular telephone calls at home, which she'd take messages for. According to speculation, at one point she had actually gone through his journals in his bedroom and found information pertaining to the CIA work, which heightened suspicions further. Craig goes on to theorize that Edwina confronted Charles about his work and he killed her, and then he killed his father. Craig goes on to mention that he believes that Charles was in the process of trying to dispose of the bodies, but was interrupted before he had a chance to do so. That's kind of the reason why there's body parts missing, according to Craig's theory. Now, John R. Craig and Philip A. Rogers put forth an argument in 1992 in a book called The Man on the Grassy Knoll. However, Gardenier stated in an interview with Fox News that basically everything that I just said has never had any evidence to substantiate Craig's claims made about Charles being involved with the CIA or JFK's assassination. Gardenier further stated that Charles had powerful friends, though. He bought into mines, he bought into wells for people, and they continued to make money. So these people that like he's helping garner their own financial success, they're not going to be willing to let him go. Like if this guy gets in trouble and he's basically raking in the moolah for you, what are you going to do? You're not going to hand him over to authorities. Hell no.
Okay, so he could be or have people who are harboring him. Yeah.
So Gardenier also points to how some of these powerful individuals did run as contract workers for the CIA. And it's likely that like Charles did have CIA connections and may have done some contracting work himself. It's not really likely, though, that he had a permanent position, which is what Craig is kind of pushing, of like he worked for the CIA for years. He was a permanent position. He was a permanent guy. No. Like, he's not. Like, it's just contracting work of like, we'll call you if we need you. That type of shit.
Okay.
So the Gardeneers further dismissed any connection to the JFK assassination in their own book titled The Icebox Murders, which was published in 2003. The two also managed to track down Charles's 1959 Cadillac all the way to Mexico first, purportedly landed a mining job through his oil and industry connections. And then later that car moved again to Honduras. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. The Gardeneers believe that Charles had likely been planning out the murders of his parents for years and symbolically picked out the date to commit the crime, stating in an interview, "It's strange to put it this way, but he approached it like it was an engineering problem. Dispose, clean, dispose." And then he'd leave. Like, he was very meticulous with it.
Mm-hmm.
It is believed that Charles has met his end, though, at the hands of coal miners over a dispute. And it's alleged that he was murdered with a pickaxe somewhere in Honduras, which it's not too surprising, as he did have ties with Anthony Pitts, who was also involved in drug and gun smuggling in Central America. So he lived a pretty dangerous life. Like, he's not in the most safe industry. Like, not to say like oil's a bad industry to be in, but it's not always the safest one. And then he's also not keeping safe company. So not a lot of people are surprised when this rumor starts spreading around that Charles has been murdered.
What if this is the one case where he's like actually drinking pina coladas on a beach somewhere?
That's kind of what the vibe I get to. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
theoretically, if I had made it to Mexico, I would sell my car. Don't have to change the plates. Just like sell it off. Get your money for it. Let somebody else take it. And then stay where you're at. Especially if like that's the only thing you got tracking to you. So he could have very well just sipping pina coladas on the beach for the rest of his days.
That's wild.
Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to bring up, just discussion wise, while it's interesting to hear the conspiracy theory about JFK, when I look at the information presented in this case, specifically looking at how Edwina was murdered versus how Fred was murdered. Edwina was quick with a gunshot wound to the head, whereas there is so much anger taken out with bludgeoning, gouging out the eyes, specifically cutting off his father's genitalia and flushing him down the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much anger there that I'm like, okay. That doesn't scream like, oh, they found out about me being CIA, gotta cover this up now. That screams years and years and
No.
years of built up anger finally snapping and coming loose. Because most people, like, I think it was Lucia that actually asked me a question about like a stabbing recently, and I'm like, stabbings are usually crimes of passion. So are bludgeonings usually. Like, that's a crime of passion. That's anger. I don't think Charles is JFK's assassin. I don't. I think that this was something finally pushed, snapped, and he lost it. And possibly his mom walked in midway through it, started screaming, and he didn't want to do the same thing to her and just drew a pistol and took care of it.
Yeah. I mean, what is even happening in this case? So
It's
we have like a highly trained incredibly intelligent man who works for the oil field, but that's also possibly a cover up for his job as a
Mm-hmm.
secret agent for the CIA. And he finally snapped and murdered his dad, ran away to Mexico. Um,
Ran away to
or
Mexico.
Honduras.
Sipping pina
Yeah.
coladas on the beach, having a good time.
And he was allegedly murdered with a pickaxe down there. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how allegedly?
How allegedly? Where
Like,
did we get this information from? But it's like in almost every article, it's like, oh, he was off with the pickaxe. I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from? Like, are we just all speculating this, or is there actual data? And I'm presuming in the Gardener's book, because they're the ones that like actually like put that forward of like, this is very likely what happened. I presume in their book there is a further like train of thought that actually follows that, or possible evidence that leads to that.
okay.
But Charles has been declared legally dead, and this was done in 1975, so his estate could be probated. To this day, he still remains the only suspect in the unsolved case of the Icebox murders. Now, I don't have any numbers for you because this case is older. And like I said, Charles is the only suspect. And if he was still around today, he'd be about 104 years old. So it's kind of unlikely that he's still with us. Granted, it sounds like Houston's still looking for answers, so I would presume if you want to give a tip, if you have information, if you're in contact with somebody that's had contact with him, and I don't know if you have that, I would presume contacting the Houston Police Department would be your go-to. But
If you've had a pina colada with a very suspiciously old former CIA agent in Honduras.
who might be rambling at this point, he's just got Alzheimer's sipping his pina colada. I was one of those 3 people in that picture. Pointing at the
You're like,
tramp photo. That was me in my golden days. Yeah,
in
yeah.
my golden days. God.
Charles, just take your num-num pills. I don't want to take my num-num pills.
They just give him virgin pina coladas. They crush up the pills and put them in there.
I was about
Here,
to say,
sir.
I'm like, he's just sprinkle the pills on top.
They're like, sometimes he finishes them. Other times he just rambles.
Thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.